This is Wandering Universe. Today, we're going back to revisit an ancient site in search of more mysterious clues lying beneath it. So, let's go exploring. Welcome back. Today, we're going to go exploring to another site, to another country, somewhere on this blue marble, which is called planet Earth. So, I'm going to spin this baby around. We're going over the Atlantic Ocean. No, we're not going to Africa today. We're not going to Egypt. We're going somewhere else. Okay, so I'm going to bring you in. Come on in. Come on board. Yes, we're going to Turkey today. Okay, now this is where we're going to go today. We're going to go to an ancient site. We're almost there. Almost there. As you can see, there's a lot of arid ranges surrounding a particular site where we're going to today. There's a lot of greenery, pastures, agriculture, as you can see. And as you can see right here, these nice little wrinkly lines that you can see in some parts of the barren plains. These are possible scars, marks left over from lakes, ancient lakes, river systems, streams from the last ice age. Because of that, it shows that it's obviously a pretty rugged mountainous terrain. Hills, valleys, mountains surrounding these areas. The only lake that is nearest to this site, that, as you can see where my arrow is pointing, is this lake right here. But I'll talk about that a little later. So this is the lake that's nearest to it. This lake would have expanded itself out nearest to this area. There would have been a lot of inlets and channels that allowed water to flow through within the openings, the channels that formed rivers and streams that connected as a giant waterway system towards this area right here in this particular site. It also, I want to show you this, it also extended out to this area. So I'll just come out a little bit. As you can see, from this area, it connects directly to this site. There's an ancient relic in Haran. Surrounding Haran, there are other similar sites to the one we're going to see today. But I'll talk about that a little later. Now, as you can see, that's the township right there, Sanliurfa. I'm just going to go in a little bit. There are some interesting things. This is a quarry mine. Not sure if it's limestone or marble. I'm not sure. Please let me know in the comments section. There are a few interesting things I've noticed. Yes, Gobekli Tepe. That's correct. This is where we're going today, right here. And as I said earlier, notice this swirl landmark, this remnant right here that's swirling around the site of Gobekli Tepe. There used to be a large lake that surrounded it many millennia ago. We're talking about possibly 100,000 years ago. And as you can see, it's all dried up, but it once acted as a waterway that made Gobekli Tepe very fertile. I'm not sure whether it was a city, a township, but I do believe there's a lot more to this site than what you just see at first glance. So, I'm going to take you out a little bit. There are some interesting things here. Okay. Now, take a look at this. Further up north. Can anybody tell me what this is? It looks like some giant mound. I'm not sure what it is. If anybody knows what this is, please tell me in the comment section. Not sure what's here, but it looks like there's some sort of ancient relic here where my arrow is pointing. There's more ancient ruins along here and here as well. I'm not sure if they've been excavated or researched, I'm not sure, but that's another ancient ruin nearby, including this one. Now, here's another ancient ruin right here, which is further out from Gobekli Tepe. You guessed it. Not sure if this is currently being excavated or it's been discovered recently by a team of archaeologists, but this is what it looks like from this satellite image. Going a little bit close, I'm not sure what it is. If this is a possible ancient relic, please let me know in the comments section. If this is part of Gobekli Tepe, then obviously Gobekli Tepe itself would have been a much larger place, much larger site. And as you can see, as I said earlier, Gobekli sits on a hill surrounded by an ancient lake. And this quarry site is the same, as you can see. So water channeled through this swirling remnant of a mountainside, a hill, what you call it. Okay, so we're going to go right in now. And yes, also, just to let you know, there's another ancient relic here too. Yes. You'd be very surprised how many ancient relics there are lying around surrounding Gobekli Tepe. Some of them are still being excavated, dug up as yet. The way I see it, Gobekli is surrounded by other nearby ancient settlements. Very interesting. Now, we're going to go right in. This is how it looks from the air. There never used to be a shed that covered the site many years ago. It was all like an open air museum, including this one. So for some reason, it could indicate that they're still excavating. There are more excavations happening at the moment, uncovering hidden gems, including this one. To enter these excavations requires permission, possibly from the people who are looking after the museum. Special permission. Not sure what type, but who knows. And there are a lot more relics, as you can see here, more ruins surrounding it that are being unearthed. A very interesting site indeed. Going to give you a nice little viewing from the air. Give you a 3D view so you can have a look and enjoy. Okay, now that you've got a good view of Gobekli Tepe, going to turn it around. I'll leave it as it is for your own viewing pleasure. And now, let's explore Gobekli Tepe. Gobekli Tepe is the most visited open-air museum in the world. exhibiting more than 200 T-stone pillars, hundreds of unearthed artifacts, and numerous exhibits beginning with the main arena, then farther to other recently discovered monuments. It is one of the majestic wonders of the world. Gobekli Tepe literally means navel or potbelly hill. It is a ripe old age of around 12,800 years old that has enchanted the inquisitive archaeologists to go in search of buried clues that might point the finger to the origin of the stone builders. Allow Hugh Newman to give you a peek tour of Gobekli Tepe.
So here we are at Gobekli Tepe and we're looking down on enclosure D, possibly the most impressive part of the entire site. It has two huge pillars in the center, and you can see it in the museum. They've reconstructed this amazingly. And what's really interesting though is the fact that there's 12 around the edge in a kind of oval, and it's got a terrazzo carved flat floor, and there is actually seats between the different pillars around it. It's not just a wall, it's actually seats. And much like we saw the carved out Hypogean thrones at Karahan Tepe, I think this is reminiscent of that, even though this may have come first, where they were seated areas, they were kind of throne areas, if you like, for the elite, probably the builders of this site. Now this one area here has three very important enclosures. You can see those all here. But enclosure D is the most famous. It has just down there, we have pillar 43 with all the beautiful carvings on it, the astrological carvings. And we have the kind of anthropomorphic, kind of human type figures in the center, the two main pillars, with the arms and the hands touching the belt with the H's and the serpents on it. And it's just so rich, this site, on so many levels. Amazing to be here at Gobekli Tepe once again. We know this dates to at least 9,600 BC, although there is evidence, even Klaus Schmidt, when me and Andrew spoke to him in 2014, even suggested it might be as old as 14,000 years old, at least some of it, maybe not the whole site. And so there's a lot of elements here that are still being excavated. There's a whole area over the other side, which has got a whole roof built on it now, and that's actually yet to be fully excavated. It's not even going to be over for at least another year, so more discoveries are being made. Up here, where on the other side there on the ridge, they found a whole area where it's like domestic, where people were kind of living apparently. I just spoke to one of the archaeologists here, one of the workers here, they told us that. And they say there's a lot more to come. I mean, when I was chatting with them, so let's see what happens. Now, unfortunately, Klaus Schmidt died, and the people who've taken over don't really let you see too much, but we're going to be coming here in September 2022 as part of our big tour to Turkey. And this is one of the primary sites, the primary site we're going to visit. We're also going to visit Karahan Tepe as well, where we made some amazing discoveries regarding the winter solstice. You can see that video of that revelation below. And the museum is amazing. All the artifacts from Gobekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe and Navali Churi, all the other Tepala sites are now on display there. More will be on display before September.
Now that you got a brief show and tell tour, let me take you on a different route, as I have found some very interesting pointers that might reveal its ancient origins. Gobekli Tepe sits on top of a barren hill wrapped around by an ancient swirling valley. Once upon a time, abundance of water flowed through this area, derived from lakes to rivers and streams from the last ice age. Although the estimated age to be around 12,800 years old, some alternative archaeologists suspect it to be far older than speculated. Later on, I'll be discussing in more detail the construction techniques that framed this ancient relic. For now, let's go down the yellow brick road of curious wonder, bringing to light some hidden gems. Gobekli's closest lake is called Bal Silla as a breakaway northwest to the Euphrates River. This shimmering blue lake was a predecessor from the last ice age that flowed right into the fertile plains. It's possible that it dispersed mass of water for a few hundred kilometers that provided ample waterways that reached out to the site. Since the last ice age, numerous ancient lakes, rivers and streams have left their impression as a reminder of its once flourishing tropical and fertile grounds. Further down south from Gobekli is its sister site Karahan Tepe, an ancient province that built its first civilization on Earth. In Haran, 47 kilometers south from Sanliurfa, lies an abandoned ruin of an ancient city. It aligns directly to Gobekli. How is this possible? Was this ancient city built around the same time as Gobekli? This ancient ruin played a historical role during the Assyrian Empire and its association with the moon god. It is claimed to be the first city of northern Mesopotamia. Alright, so you got a rough idea on the age of Gobekli. Now, we're about to find out a mysterious mark that was left behind, whether on purpose or not, to give us an idea on the origins of the site builders. Take a look. Drilled holes. Have a good look at these pictures. Notice the precise drilled holes against the surface of these pillars. Clean cut and perfectly circular. Even today's modern rock drilling tools are no match for its clean craftsmanship. It's masterfully done. It's apparent this was a brought over technology that has left its mark through the passing of time. The only tools that can achieve this type of precision drilling is a highly advanced laser digital machine. This drilled hole was crafted under controlled efficiency, done in no time. Ancient primitive tools may achieve this precision, but would leave microscopic ridges along the inner hole. Here is a video demonstrating drilling a hole using primitive tools on a sandstone rock.
Alright guys, today we're going to be trying to drill a hole the old style way. I mean, it's got a hole in it. You can see how long this is compared to that. Not a very big hole. Alright, let me keep continuing on this. That's my hole. There's that. That's in the highest part of it, so not that far. Not bad.
Okay, so you work up a sweat for hours on end if you can hack it. There's no way we can achieve that in less time using primitive tools. In my mind, it's brought over rock drilling technology from somewhere far, far away. Gobekli Tepe was not constructed as a residential settlement, nor as a place of superstitious worship. It was constructed to align with one constellation, the Pleiades. According to these pictures, it reveals an in-sync pattern that correlates from other sites to the constellation position of the stars, a celestial alignment corresponding to the formation of these circles. If Gobekli was built with human hands, the conception of geometric engineering would not have evolved until several thousand years later. So, who done it? Here is a video that mentions the story of the Pleiades.
In mythology, the Seven Sisters are known as the Water Girls or the Ice Maidens, due to their connection with water, including the seas and rivers, rain and hail, snow, ice and frost. According to Aboriginal tribes from Australia, the Seven Sisters, which they also called the Water Girls, were beautiful sorceresses. The mythology of the tribes also says that the stars were ice crystals, which is why they shine brightly. Cultures around the world have long known of the Pleiades, or Seven Sisters, a small collection of stars in the constellation Taurus. But this star cluster could point the way to the world's oldest story, one told by our ancestors nearly 100,000 years ago, as shown in similarities between Anatolian and indigenous Australian myths about the constellation. Cultures around the world have often referred to this constellation with the number 7, calling them the Seven Sisters, Seven Maidens, or Seven Little Girls. One of the Seven Sisters is often lost in the glare of a nearby star called Atlas, making it invisible to most human eyes. But 100,000 years ago the two stars would have been more separated in the night sky, accounting for why the Pleiades are named for 7 beings in many stories. In other words, the ancients first came up with the tale 100,000 years ago, then carried this story about the night sky with them as they migrated across Asia to Australia, and eventually to Europe. The star dreaming story of the Seven Sisters is one of the most widely distributed ancient stories amongst Aboriginal Australia. Indigenous Australian sky stories include those of different groups, who identify the Pleiades as 7 girls being chased by the constellation Orion, who is a hunter in these tales. This storyline is extremely similar to the one in ancient Anatolian legends about these constellations.
So, the plot thickens. Ancient Australian Aborigines have walked the land for over 70,000 years, the oldest known humans since the evolution of the Homo sapien. Could it be that the Australian Aboriginals knew Gobekli Tepe? Well, I did some digging around and I came across this intriguing clue. The Gympie Mound, also known to the local Kabi people as the Jaki Kundu Aka Gympie Pyramid, located in Gympie in northern Queensland. According to Diane Jaki Widyong from the Kabi First Nations people, the Pleiades is an ancient Kabi story. The Seven Sisters brought over stone technology that was passed down to the Kabi people many thousands of years ago. The Kabi people were the first stone builders on Earth. The Pleiade beings taught them this knowledge to build a stone civilization along with dams, reservoirs, buildings, homes, farms, you name it, by their star ancestors. It is quite odd that few archaeologists would dare to explore the ancient Aboriginal Dreamtime stories. Could it be that these archaeologists have turned a blind eye, dismissing these stories as incredible evidence? Is there something they know that has contradicted their theories about Gobekli and the Aborigines? Alright, I'll give you a glimpse that might change your view on Gobekli. Compare these pictures. This one shows a sandstone block with a small drilled hole. Now, compare it to the T-shaped stone pillar drilled hole. They both depict a clean-cut and precise drilled holes. Compare these two small drilled holes along these sandstone blocks to that along the surface of these T-shaped pillars. The resemblance is remarkable. Question is, was this brought over technology first introduced to the Kabi people, then franchised along the celestial equator, including to Gobekli Tepe? Feeling stumped? Well, let this video present the Australian Aboriginals' connection to Gobekli.
However, although it has been admitted as one of the oldest sites on Earth, undeniably contradicting modern-day paradigms in regards to the claimed dates of modern ancestral migration routes, The pillars are also covered with mysterious symbology, some of which has since been identified in an ancient group who not only share these same symbols within their culture, even to this day, but have since been hypothesized by a number of individual researchers as the possible culprits for the construction of the site itself, dating back to what we feel is a now lost antiquity. Gobekli Tepe has been academically dated as being at least 12,000 years old, yet any logical explanation as to who or indeed how the site was constructed remains conveniently elusive. Yet regardless of the unanswered questions that many people are still left with, even after academia's explanation, intrigue has seemingly increased since its acception into known site of Earth's antiquities. Modern studies have discovered compelling links between the symbolism of the site and that of the symbolism still used within Aboriginal groups of Australia. Famous for their ancient ancestry and their claims of a lost time before history books began, which they now call dream time, it seems that further to these curious beliefs, they also share an ancient language of symbols with the site, whose meanings has unfortunately been lost to the chasm of time. Yet regardless of their lost meaning, the similarities between this mysterious language and that of the symbology carved upon what is claimed as the oldest site on Earth is undeniable. This realization has enabled a number of individual researchers to conclude that there was once a now lost civilization who they now believe and claim was once made up of Aboriginals, who they also claim seemingly survived upon the continent of Australia, but were mysteriously wiped out upon the many other continents of the Earth. Furthermore, it seems that there are a number of areas upon the site that mainstream sources would prefer stay covered up. The Turkish government recently visited the site and committed an act of criminal vandalism, filling a number of intriguing voids at the site with cement. The question is, what were they so desperate to conceal? Could there possibly be compounding evidence at the site supporting the new and current hypothesis of the site once having Aboriginal origins? It's undoubtedly a site which deserves more protection, one which we find highly compelling.
It's certainly mind-blowing how the pieces of this puzzle is coming together. But don't fret yet, because later on there is so much more to discover about the Aboriginal connection to Gobekli Tepe. For now, let's take a look at this artefact. This is called the Kilisik sculpture, found in Andaman in 1965. This composite sculpture is made of limestone. Look closely. It depicts a female entity at the top, with another figure seated beneath it. Some claim it shows a woman guarding her child. Alongside it, there are two serpents entwined near the child. The woman is wearing what appears to be a helmet that complements her snazzy skin-tight suit. Over to the left, an unknown device is tucked under her forearm, a communication device. Then over to the right, an etched circle near the entity's elbow. Was this an outlined drill mark? This sculpture holds a major clue about the origins of the Seven Sisters, who possessed stone building technology that cultivated their new world on Earth. The Pleiades is the most widespread story amongst many cultures, from the Celts, the Persians, Hindu, Hawaiians, even right down to Cherokee, Mayan, and Australian Aboriginals. Gobekli Tepe and its sister sites share its phenomenal celestial mapping to the Pleiades. There is growing evidence from these Kabi relics suggest the ancient Kabi people interacted with the pre-ancient beings from that one star system. They were enlightened by stone building technology that cultivated a new Stone Age civilization. If so, then this one piece of evidence will baffle even the mild-mannered archaeologist that civilization never began in Africa, the Fertile Crescent, nor in ancient Siberia, but in Gympie, Australia. It's astounding that Gobekli Tepe still keeps its buried secrets, as they've only unearthed less than 2% of the area. Over time, I'll be doing more videos showcasing its complex design, methods applied, and why the pre-ancient beings built this marvel monument. That's all for now.